If you're still pricing your Amazon inventory manually or just using basic repricing rules, you're leaving a lot of money on the table. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to use BQool to automatically reprice your products better than other sellers, protect your profits, and win the buy box without starting a race to the bottom. This is exactly how the big Amazon sellers are staying competitive in 2025. We're going to start off with the plans and pricing because that is one of the more confusing parts to this, because you may look at these plans and see that mostly everything is the same except for a couple things right here in the beginning and then at the bottom for number of users. But what it really comes down to is this row right here, the listings. And it will vary depending on if you're a complete beginner, if you've done some selling, or if you're really far down the line and you're just looking for a repricer. But we're looking at this second number here because it's based off of rule-based plus the AI. And the whole point of using a software like this is to be able to have access to the AI to reprice for you correctly and more smarter than doing it on your own. So it's going to vary by how many listings you have, how many products you have in your catalog that you want active repricing at the same time. So if you're a complete beginner, you can get away with this $25 a month plan. If you're more in the middle, you could probably get away with 100. If you get anywhere above 100, the next step is the 1,000. This is the plan that I used, and it did really well. And I have really no complaints about this software. It's gotten me a lot more sales than I would have gotten if I was going through each one of my listings and taking the time to do that, besides just the fact that it's going to save you that much time, because you don't want to have to check your listings every single day or multiple times a day. Make sure that you're priced competitively. So I would recommend, if you have over 100 listings, definitely go for the AI Premium. It's a long range from 1,000 to 6,000, and it's going to be pretty hard to get up to 1,000 different products unless you're doing tons of volume across that many different SKUs. So the AI Premium is a pretty good bet for almost everybody. You can do an annual subscription. It will save you 10%, but if you're just starting out and you're not sure that you want to keep this one, maybe you want to try other softwares, then do the monthly plan. For when it comes to repricing, once you get your account set up and once you pay the subscription, you're going to see what looks like this when you get your catalog synced over. And there may be a little bit of a delay when you first sign up, and when you add new products to your catalog, it may also have a delay and not show up right away. But that's perfectly fine and normal. It will show up, and what you're going to see is all of your information. So up here, there's going to be your title, the fulfillment method saying FBA or FBM. It's got your ASIN. Then it's going to give you some stats like the buy box percentage that you got, the buy box owner, whether it's FBA or FBM, your position, and then the sales rank. That's going to be the most important identifying information. You're going to have your SKU status, whether it's active or inactive. As you can see right here, it says inactive. And then the condition that you sell it in, new, used, refurbished. Mostly always going to be new products though. You can also click on the SellerAmp right here and see the chart, because they do integrate with SellerAmp. And then you're going to have your date created. This is a really old listing for me. It's going to have the quantity broken down between availability and then how many you have inbound, reserved, unfulfillable, total. You're going to have your cost that comes through from Boxum. If you're putting your costs into that software, you set up the integration through your settings, and you'll be able to have these come over automatically, which is really helpful. That way you don't have to go and manually input all that stuff. Really the only 2 to 3 things that you're going to have to do, one of them being a one-time only thing for every listing, and then the other 2 being manually inputted every single new listing or whenever you want to change your repricing, is going to be, you're going to put in your minimum price and your maximum price here. So if you don't know just what your minimum price and maximum price you want it to be, you can find it out a couple ways. I would recommend using the order tracker that I use that I've given out in multiple other videos for free, because when you fill that out, you'll be able to put in what your minimum price is, and then you could fill it in off of that. Although that you may want to just use as a ballpark, because what you don't want to do is set this minimum price as your minimum percentage, just 25%. Because if you're at 30 or 40% projected sale price and you put in a minimum of 25, you're giving it the ability to drop that far down and possibly tank the price, which you don't want to do. So what I would do is put it maybe $1 underneath your projected sale price, maybe even a little bit less than that. Put it as close to your minimum price or to your projected price as you can, with giving it some room depending on the other competition that you have, if it's maybe a little bit lower than that. But if you're not getting sales at your projected price because other people are lower than you, come in and play with this number and just see what starts to get sales and then mark that as your minimum price. What you can do though is open this up by clicking on the minimum price calculator here, the profit calculator, and you'll start to see all of these columns, which, for example, say you wanted a 30% ROI on here. You can type in your projected ROI, click on the refresh button here, and it's going to tell you in the top what your minimum price should be based off of that percentage. You can also type in a random number, not a random number, but depending on what your price is. Say you wanted to sell it at 40, or let's not use 40 because this is already at 39. Say you wanted to do 35 and you wanted to see what it would be if it dropped to 34. You can put in 34 there, click the refresh, and see that based off of your cost here, you're going to get this percentage ROI, this much profit, and then this is your profit margin. If you're doing FBM listings during Q4, the end of Q4, or just any time of the year, you can put in your shipping cost here, an estimate, say it's $4, and then you can see when you refresh this what your numbers would be based off that. So you'll know that you have to get up a little bit higher to be able to get to your minimum, and then push it up more than that. So if your projected price was 50, throw it at 49 or 49 and a half, see what that is. Then you can just click on this save button here. It'll load into here. It'll push this up if it was lower like mine was just for this example, just to kind of show that process there. It will meet your minimum if it's below that. Then you'll throw in your maximum price. What I do typically is just like $10, $15, $20 above your projected, because the only time that you're really going to hit your max price is if there's no other competition. And that's really rare that that kind of thing happens where you're the only one on a listing. So you can push it up as high as you want. I've seen people type in $999 before, just the maximum amount that it would allow. Just throw it way out there. I like to be a little bit more conservative and closer, just so that way it would still get sales if it does push up to the maximum price. So you can throw in your maximum price here. So for 49, I'd probably do 60 or 65 there, and then save that. Or you can look at this, see what your numbers would be if you want to. Doesn't really matter too much with the max pricing. You'll notice that once I put those two numbers in there, this save button did start to show up here. And what this is going to do is just save those in place, and it's also going to turn this green for your repricing it being enabled here. And that is important, because if you don't have it green there, it's not going to start running. If you want to turn off, you just click on that, it will go to pause. And I wouldn't recommend having them on while your stuff is on the way into Amazon, because you're going to be on back order. You don't want your price to start fluctuating, possibly have your competition start to drop their price as well, and then maybe start a train down to the bottom. So you can throw these numbers in advance if you want to do it right when you send in a shipment, or you could do it at the time when they become available. Just check this every day or so, see if anything is green, because you can sort by these top values too. I sorted by date created, just newest to oldest, but if you searched or sorted by quantity to see how many you have of something, to see what's maybe not selling as fast that you need to adjust, you could do it that way. You could also sort it by the status here. It will filter by all actives or inactives first, depending on which way you click it. And then you can go through, see which ones have the green active here instead of gray inactive, and then just turn them all on after you set your pricing there. On the right hand side, you can also see some more information here. You can see your shipping, which isn't really ever going to show up for FBA products. You can see the low price of all of the offers, which I found sometimes isn't as accurate because it does take a little bit to update. So if you want to check what the lowest price is, inside of these pieces of information here where the ASIN is, the ASIN will have a hyperlink that you can click on. It'll be blue, and then you'll be brought straight to the Amazon listing for that product, and you can check your competition in SellerAmp. You can also see the buy box price here. In this column, you can see how many other offers there are, so your competition broke down in between FBA and FBM. And then you can see how many units sold that you've had in the last 30 days. You can see your inventory age broken down 30 to 60, or 30 to 31 to 60, then 61 to 90, so on. So that way you can see, do I need to reprice more aggressively, possibly lower than my minimum, or towards break even if you want to sell out of that really aged inventory, so that way you don't get hit with inventory storage fees. Then you'll have your estimated ROI on the furthest part to the right, showing you based off of your cost and your projected sale price here. That's pretty much the entire breakdown of what you're going to be doing inside of this page. The last thing that we're going to talk about inside of the software is going to be the rules here, which I did skip over. So when we go into here, we'll see all of these different rules that you can choose from. And then 2 at the bottom were just tests that I did when I first signed up with this software to try and see how it worked, that I just never got rid of. But we'll go through what the differences between these are. I would always recommend using this AI win equalizer because it's kind of the middle ground of everything in here and seems to have the best results when testing out other ones. But talking about those rules, if you click on the repricing rules here, you'll get a list of all of them, as we can see right here. And they have a short description of what it does for each of them here that you can go through, decide what you want to do, because maybe a product isn't selling as well and you want to reprice aggressively to maximize the sales and not care so much about how much profit you're getting on each one. As long as it's within those 2 numbers that you set, you don't care if it's higher or lower. That would be a good option there. Or if you want the maximum profit, then you can get AI Profit Maximizer. It reprices to maximize your profit. So you'd have to have a more drawn in maximum price on there, just so that way it doesn't boost it all the way up there and then you just don't get sales. But you can choose whichever one you think is best. You can test them all out. You'll see how many listings you have here. So this is the one that I used to use, and it's got a lot of my listings that I haven't sold in a long time. And then this is what I switched to after testing some more out, seeing that this one did the best. If you want to change anything in these, you can click on the title here. You can see exactly what it does. So we'll see here that it's balanced completely between sales and profit. Then we'll go to the next right here and see what it will do. You can change these as you want. You could leave them as they are like I did. But if you want to, when you're the only seller, use max price, customize it, you can do those kind of things in here. You can change it for all of these different settings and then choose which winners you want to compete against. If you want to compete against only FBA offers here, you can do that. Or if you want to include Amazon and FBM, you can also do that. Going on to the next page, you can set schedules. So you can say you want to pause your repricing during a certain time. And people do this so that way during the middle of the night when there's no sales really happening, it doesn't possibly start a little bit of a price drop. There are other cases where you could maximize your price in the middle of the night to try to do this kind of yo-yo effect where price will get shot up to maximum. Maybe it will make other sellers bring their price up. You can play around with this kind of stuff, set what days you want it to happen on if you just want it once to see what happens. And then you can do all of those kind of things inside of there. And then you'll be able to see all of your options that you chose inside of this right here. If you want to create your own, you can also do that and do add new rule. You'll choose either what you want it to base off of, or you could just skip that and we'll just do test 2 here. And I guess you can't skip it, you used to be able to. So you'll have to pick a base model. You could choose anything you want and then go through here. And you'll be able to do the same kind of options if you don't want to change the already put in there ones, so that way you'll have it to go back to as a default option. You can just make your own variations of them and do the exact same thing as what I just walked through there. The last part of this video is going to be something that happened last year at some point. BQool integrated with SellerAmp. So if you're going through your inventory and you're on Seller Central and you have a lot of ASINs in there that maybe haven't been selling for a while, and that's how you look at your products to tell if they're selling, you don't want to go through BQool's homepage. You can scroll all the way to the bottom of SellerAmp and you'll see this here if you have it turned on in your settings to show up. If you don't know how to turn that on, or you want a full walkthrough of SellerAmp also, I have a video on my channel and it'll show up at the end of this video too. So inside of this, you'll see all of your information that we saw inside of BQool exactly as it was. But what you can do here is you can update this. You don't want to export a new listing because that's going to duplicate it. What you want to do is click on update here. And if you saw, based off of this keep a chart here, that you wanted to be at a certain price that you weren't at, then, or have to lower it, you can come in here and you can update your minimum price and your maximum price. Say I want it to be 35 and 40, just based off of this keep a chart here being at 33. It's a little high, but you can adjust it as you want. You can also change the rule here. Then you just click on export and it's going to say export complete. You can log in to check the status. You don't need to though. It will go through. And then this way it'll save you a lot of time having to go in between BQool, Seller Central, Amazon pages, looking at keep it charts, all that kind of stuff. It's just all in one right here. If you guys have any questions about anything I went over in this video, or there's any other topics that you want to see me make videos on, leave a comment down below. There's also a link in the description for anybody who wants my help either starting or growing their Amazon business. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.